Alright, welcome to the weekly gaming quick save show, recorded live at 3 p.m. Pacific time every Friday, right here on twitch.tv/benreacts. Even if my internet and OBS try to thwart me through no fault of their own or my own, or anyway, it doesn't matter. On this week's show, we're going to be talking about all the Nintendo news because it deserves its own section. There's a pile of it. Going over the Neo alpha impressions and Mirror's Edge closed beta, which you can talk about despite them not advertising that at all, and maybe they should have. That's a whole nother issue. First, let's take a look at some of the top stories of the week. And this is in the ongoing trend of weeks before E3. We're about 6 weeks out, I think. Numbers. Not a lot of news going on. Weeks and weeks and weeks of no news. So I've picked out a couple things that I find interesting. Sure, there's other stories. It's just, I mean, at a certain point, I just don't care about all these stories. And I can only make dumb jokes about so few of them. They're not even good jokes. The first one doesn't even have jokes. So, Citra is a 3DS emulator that's in development, now allows you to output the games in a higher resolution than originally now that they're for. These sentences are really flowing together. The original 3DS's resolution is super low, so having them at the 1600 by 900, so 900p resolution, makes them beautiful. And what's really cool about this to me is that it's not new assets. There's nothing really new or different going on with this. It's everything that's in the game just rendered at a higher resolution. It's kind of like the PS2 classics they're releasing now on PS4 that look a little better. They're really just rendering at a higher resolution. And that's awesome. And we've seen this with the Dolphin emulator on GameCube and Wii games. I love shit like this. This just looks cool. It's just cool to see what could be. And that Nintendo basically has a actual HD version of Ocarina of Time is a little upsetting when it's stuck on this handheld that runs at like below your old tube TV. It's just a bummer. But I love seeing things like this. It's also an excuse to use the moon. Gotta hand it to the moon. And also, one last thing on resolution. This is why it matters. People who say, oh, 720, 1080p doesn't really matter. It does. It's a pretty big difference when you get down to it. It's just gonna make everything clearer. You're gonna see more stuff. You want to see your game look better. So yeah, sure, 720p is fine, but wouldn't you want it a little better? Especially since we're talking about the 3DS, which is like postage stamp. Not look that great. In 3D, looks okay. Now, the only other piece of news is that there are copies of Uncharted 4 floating around in Europe, and this is the result of what Sony is calling a violent assault, which I find very interesting and very fitting for Uncharted, because Uncharted is basically the story of a man who brings death and destruction everywhere. You know, it becomes a violent assault. That's the metaphor joke, whatever. He goes, in Uncharted 3, he goes to an airport to sneak onto a plane and ends up killing 100 people with his girlfriend, on-again, off-again girlfriend. That's not something, like, couldn't you just sneak in to the air? Couldn't you sneak in? No? You gotta kill everyone? So this is very Uncharted to me. And I like that. I think it's super fitting. Now, I also dug around, and I happened to find an actual photo of the violent assault taking place. So we're gonna see if this is warrant of that strangely bizarre phrasing. Alright. Now, I think this is definitely in Europe because there's clouds. It's very cloudy over there from what I can hear. Didn't know there was that much dirt on the ground, though. I don't know about that. But this definitely constitutes a violent assault, in my opinion. We got 1, 2, 3, maybe one in the back, so like 4 trucks with these like polemen swinging around. Very violent assault. I don't know why they're using an oil rig gas delivery truck, but that's just cultural differences. You have to respect the UK's right to ship things in an old oil container. So that's interesting. But what's actually more interesting to me is why, like, this had to be an accident, right? Like, no one's stalking the warehouse to find the truck that's carrying Uncharted. It was carrying other DVDs and stuff too, so this is just a lucky accident for them. Also, why would you steal that truck and not an armored vehicle or a jewelry truck? Which I don't know if that even exists. Just in GTA maybe, but I guess those are more difficult and they're guarded. And this truck of DVDs and whatever, no one really cares that much about. And you just happen to get Uncharted 4 before everyone else because you did a violent assault. What does violent assault mean? Like, also, shouldn't it be on the news? Where's the actual news about this? A violent assault? That's the vaguest thing. No one's saying anything about this. A violent assault? What? So, did someone get killed? Is someone hurt? None of these details are known. At least not to me, and I definitely didn't look for them. Very interesting. Just see, grasping at straws for stories, because like what? Grasping at straws. That's my whole life. But enough of the news, the very important news. Go right into the topics of the week, starting with Nintendo and all their actual news. I could have put the news here, not doing it. Put the news over there. Can't have the news.